We're starting on the sides now. Stitch it to the bow section first, and you'll notice that it's laying out in a funny sort of a way. But as you continue stitching along, it will come together nicely. But remember, don't do one side at a time. Work both sides together, otherwise you could pull the boat out of shape. We'll move on now. Having started stitching up the front section of one side of the boat, we'll now move to the other side, joining at the bow first, and then the very bow start section of the bottom. And you'll notice, as before on the other side, they both lay out, and as you work your way along, they will both pull together into shape. By doing one side at a time, you will end up with a boat being pulled out of shape. Okay, after stitching along both sides, working from the front, it's pulled in beautifully. We'll just duck around to the other side. There you are, it come in really nice. Now don't be disturbed if when you're stitching up you find some gaps here or there. Quite often by putting an extra stitch in you can pull that up. If not, we'll mix up some fine sawdust in some resin, and as you can see here, and as it is in nearly every case with these stitching glues, there'll be places where there seems to be a gap. That sawdust mixed with the resin and hardener fills the gaps, and of course then it's going to be covered with the fiberglass tape. So don't be too disturbed if you feel you haven't cut it perfectly. You will find that in 9 times out of 10, maybe 99 out of 100, this little boat will go together beautifully. So we'll just leave it at that point and come back again a little later. Righto, here we are now. We've taken it off the mould, and I've tied the transom in. You will note that when the transom is laid within the hull, there is an extension of the bottom poking out the back to allow you to adjust the transom to just where you want it and how it fits. This allows for any adjustment, so don't be concerned if there's the bottom seems to be longer than the rest of the boat. You just fit it in, and then you cut off what is not required. It looks a little boxy at the moment, but when the spreaders and the seats, and as we continue along, it will all form nicely into shape. So we'll just continue to the next stage now. This next step, we have put reinforcing strips of fiberglass between the zip ties along the keel. This will allow me to remove those zip ties to put the 6-ounce glass cloth tape down the centre. This will be very strong once this is done, and at that point then we can continue on. At this stage we've fitted a support along the bow stem in the snub and across the top of the transom. Now this is to give us the rigidity we need to wrap the outer gunnels around, and something of a timber of a structure that is strong enough to take the screw. There's going to be a fair bit of stress on those gunnels as they wrap around. So this is the next step before we wrap the gunnels around. You can see it's coming along quite nicely now, and it's well on its way to being ready to be put in the water. Having put the stitches on the inside, I've turned the boat over and put on the jig again. I've removed the stitches, and I've used a product that I call Abba Dabba because it's made in Sweden. It's fabulous stuff that goes well with the resins and the fiberglass, and I use that just to, it's only a filler, there's no need for any strength in it, just to fill the stitch holes before applying the outer fiberglass tape. But it's called Norz Joe Unifiller. It's a waterproof product, very easy to use, very easy to sand, and providing you don't need any strength, it is ideal. So we'll just move on now. That's done all around where the stitches are all round. So next stage is to just put the fiberglass tape on it. Just from another angle, because we've done the keel, now the chines and the transom is all done. So once that fiberglass tape is on, she's a floatable little boat. A point that often confuses a lot of people is how to make a bulkhead. The easiest way I've found is to use cardboard, and the first piece you put down to establish the width and the sides, then it can be overlaid by other pieces until you have made up the shape, and then that can be transferred onto the plywood that is going to make that bulkhead.